With 46 days to go, this is still anyone's race.
Absolutely. Let's bring in right now our political panel this morning, politics editor for the Daily Signal, Bradley Devlin. Also with us, Democratic strategist and former Obama campaign director, Robin Byral. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us on this Friday morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
You know, we saw last night former President Donald Trump laid out his case for Jewish voters, suggesting that American Jews should vote for him because of his positions. He actually said last night he will protect Israel. Let's take a listen to this first, and then we'll discuss it.
If I don't win this election, and the Jewish people would really have a lot to do with that if that happens, because at 40%, that means 60% of the people are voting for the enemy. Israel, in my opinion, will cease to exist within 2 years, and I believe I'm 100% right.
So, Robin, given the rise in anti-Semitism, everyone has seen it. It's hitting across the country. Could this messaging actually help Trump's campaign?
You know, I thought so. I thought, just going off of gut instinct, that the messaging around Israel would be beneficial to Donald Trump. But then I dug deeper into the issues of concern to American, the American Jewish community. And their number one issue I found shocking was gun violence. 79% of American Jews are concerned about gun violence. The next highest one is inflation. There, I think Donald Trump may have an edge. But the next two are climate change and abortion. And on that, Harris cleans the House.
Interesting. Thank you for bringing those numbers and clarity on that. During her sit-down with Oprah Winfrey, Vice President Harris spoke about the idea of the American dream. We all listened to that sound before we started this interview. Here's a little more of what she had to say.
The American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that. Part of my plan is for first-time homeowners, buyers, to have a $25,000 down payment assistance to buy your first home. Because people just need to be able to get their foot in the door, and then you'll do the hard work.
So, Bradley, given the Biden administration has been leading this country for nearly 4 years now, many are questioning, well, shouldn't these things already be in play? And how do you also respond to those who say that Harris's response to questions about the economy are still very vague? I mean, aside from her statement maybe on price controls or what we just heard her say about the $25,000 credit. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I think those voters are absolutely right to question Kamala Harris on, hey, you say you have all these grand plans. Why haven't any of them been enacted yet? And then the second issue is, if they haven't been enacted yet, are you just hollow inside? Is there anything actually filling your campaign website? Now, we know that she does have issues on her campaign website after nearly a month of having no issue platform whatsoever on her campaign website. Now that she has those issues there, it seems like whenever she's in an interview format, even with the most friendly interviewer, Oprah Winfrey, who just spoke at the DNC, she still can't get down to the brass tacks. And Scott talked about it in the previous segment. These people, the American people, want answers on inflation. They want answers on the economy. I mean, no one dares ask Kamala Harris why, in any sort of meaningful follow-up, the American dream is elusive. Maybe it's because people closed down the country. Democrats closed down the country for 2 years and then all of a sudden decided to print a whole bunch of money to fund a government spending explosion. No one dares ask these questions. Why is the American dream more elusive? Why are people struggling to afford a house? Maybe it's because of the way Kamala Harris has mismanaged the economy.
Robin, we'll let you take an answer at that as well.
So, Bradley, you're correct about she didn't have policy up on her website for far too long, but now she does, and she's got 92 pages of economic policy. And furthermore, when the Founding Fathers established the country, they didn't intend for the vice president to have the powers. They're there as a stopgap, as an emergency in case something happens to the president. So this is on Biden, not necessarily Harris. She's there as backup, but
she cast the tie-breaking vote for the Inflation Reduction Act. She is the tie-breaking vote in the Senate, and that vote has mattered. Right, that is part of her job, and part of her job is also managing the Senate. She's mismanaged this legislature. She's mismanaged the issues, and the American people have been suffering because of it. She cannot walk away from the fact that she is Joe Biden's number 2, and that she is the tie-breaking vote on so many of the pieces of legislation coming from the Biden administration that hurt Americans these last 4 years. She can't walk away from that.
I would argue that the economy is robust right now, and the stock market's rallying. It's doing the best that it ever has. I think we're in good shape.
You know, I want to look at some of the numbers, because the numbers, as we know, they really tell what people are thinking, how they're responding. There's a brand new national poll, gentlemen, by the New York Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, and the Siena College. It's also showing the race. Of course, we've seen this. It's neck and neck right now. You see it right there on your screen, 47% to 47%. But if you look at the all-important battleground state of Pennsylvania, we know this is the state that could be the most important state. Harris has a 4-point lead, 50% there to Trump's 46%. So I'm going to start with you on this, Bradley. Should Trump be worried at this point in the race with numbers polling like that?
I mean, if I was Trump, I'd be worried this entire election cycle. I never believed the polls when he was running against Joe Biden that said Republicans could possibly run away with this thing. It's going to be a few thousand votes in a few different states, and most likely it's going to be Pennsylvania that takes the cake. So for Trump, I mean, you talked about these messaging to Jewish Americans. Robin's absolutely right to point out that a lot of Jewish Americans care about domestic issues. But there is a large Jewish population in Philadelphia, for example, a large enough Jewish population where if Trump captures a large majority of them, I mean, that would be enough to change the results that we saw in 2020 in the 2024 election. So, of course, Trump should be going all in on Pennsylvania at this point. It seems like he's comfortable in Arizona, maybe comfortable in Georgia, and comfortable in Nevada. And you add Pennsylvania to that mix, and Donald Trump's the next president of the United States.
Robin, to you.
Morning Consult poll just came out yesterday showing that it's now outside of the margin of error, that Harris is leading by 6 points in Pennsylvania. But I think the bigger concern for Republicans is what's happening in North Carolina right now with their gubernatorial candidate self-immolating.
We do want to talk about another new poll that's really intriguing. This one comes from the Howard Initiative of Public Opinion, Black American Battleground Voter Poll. It's showing Harris with a large support from black voters, 82% to Trump's 12%. However, we do want to point out young black male voters, that number is shifting. That has gone up to 21% from the same poll in favor of Trump. Earlier this week, Harris even pointed out she needs to make inroads with that voting bloc. Robin, what can the vice president do to potentially accomplish that?
She needs to meet these voters exactly where they are. She's doing a barnstorming tour, but these are older people. I've been to these rallies. These are older folks. She's got to go to college campuses, actually, events where she can get some young voters and capture them. And she's got to be doing voter registration drives. It's not too late to register to vote. So I need to see her out doing that.
Bradley, why do you think the swing in young black male voters to Trump?
I think young black male voters, which is a demographic that he already improved in 2020, I think they're coming towards Trump because they see the problems with the economy. They see that they're struggling to get ahead under the Biden-Harris administration. And we can pretend that Donald Trump is wrong when he says black jobs. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of black men are in the working class, and those jobs are competed out against migrants, you know, whether those migrants are legal migrants and whether those migrants are illegal migrants. That means that Hispanic workers, African-American workers, they have more competition in the job market, and it's not benefiting them in the same way. All that is to say, Trump increased his margin with every single voter demographic except working white class males in 2020. I think that's kind of where Trump is going to win the election if he does so, right? It's going to be getting those rural Pennsylvania white working class voters, as well as maybe some really targeted niche communities in the state to ultimately carry the day there and therefore carry the election.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a very spirited and very informative debate this morning. We appreciate you both, Bradley Devlin and Robin Biro. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to have you both back again.
Yes, thank you. It's going to be a horse race to the finish. I think that we can all agree.